At times there's not a need to say very much about the horrors of which we are disseminating, talking about, reflecting upon. I wish to echo the comments of the Leader of the Government, Minister Jennings, and add to it that Victoria has 75% of Australia's Sri Lankan population within our jurisdiction. I pay my respects to both Mr Ondarchi and Dr Ratnam, and also to members of the Sri Lankan community here in Victoria that have had to deal with the tragedy and try and rationalise it in a way that makes it difficult when you are so far from home and loved ones at the same time. Last year I was very fortunate to represent Victoria in Sri Lanka on a trade mission. And I can say genuinely that never in my travels on behalf of this state have I come across a people that have afforded a greater level of hospitality and love and affection towards me as an Australian than that to which I received whilst I was in Sri Lanka. The depth of the feelings and the relationship that we share dates not just back to the way that Australia attempted to support the country once the Civil War had ended, but also, as Mr Ondarchi noted in his contribution, our response to assisting Sri Lanka after the tragedy of the tsunami. These are events that have sadly brought our countries together, but in bringing our countries together, they are and have forevermore left a relationship of longevity and love, which otherwise would not have been able to be formed. In my travels, and I have often remarked both publicly and privately, there are very few times that I've left a country and said that I wish to come back and bring my family. Sri Lanka was one of only 2 countries as a result of my travels on behalf of this state that I had already expressed a desire with my wife to take our family back. Not to suggest that Mr Ondarchi and I have gotten together and worked our comments in harmony. But I echo those comments again about supporting Sri Lanka when we get the opportunity to visit and to provide support financially as tourists to the country. They continue to rebuild after the Civil War. They continue to still rebuild after the tragedy of the tsunami. They will continue to rebuild after this latest tragedy that has befallen them. And I can tell you with great confidence, President, that my family will very happily support their rebuilding of their tourism industry, and we will do so at the appropriate time to give confidence to Sri Lankans at home, to friends and family of Sri Lankans abroad, and to people that wish to support a country that is in need of our support and our love. Religion was used to perpetrate this attack, but religion was abused to perpetrate this attack. There should be no clear identification of these people that perpetrated the terrorism beyond the fact that they are terrorists. They are not freedom fighters for religion. They are people abusing religion to further their agenda. Most recently, we have seen on the weekend that a white supremacist tried to do this in a synagogue in San Diego, which my sister and her family frequent. Again, somebody attempting to instill fear into the hearts of other people practicing and worshipping their religion, which is not either equivalent with religion and what it preaches or practices, nor anything that anybody in this chamber 6 weeks ago, as Ms Jennings eloquently articulated, in the aftermath of the Christchurch massacre as well. I, in keeping with Jewish tradition, extend my wishes of long life to those affected, those family and friends, the first responders, the people that have been left to pick up the pieces, to the Christian community in Sri Lanka and Christian communities around the world, to people that wish to just go about their business without fear of persecution or fear of attack. And may I end with noting that at this point I give thanks for living in a community that expresses harmony, that attempts to work together, that decides that there is a better way than that to which we are sadly underlying and underscoring as a result of what happened in Sri Lanka. And I give thanks that in Victoria and indeed Australia, as we go through a federal election, that we have relative peace in our democracy and hopefully goodwill to people of all religions, all races and all backgrounds.